Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto anime review. This one's going to be for episode 88, which is called Clash Kokuyou. And this was a pretty interesting episode to come back with. We're definitely getting into sort of the fight gauntlet section of this arc, where it seems like a lot of the fabrications are now going to get into pretty major fights. In terms of other scenes, we did get a brief setup of like Konohamaru, Mitsuki has found Konohamaru and they haven't spoken yet, so that's going to be very, very interesting to see what they discuss and how much comes up there. So I'm actually really excited to see that, because Konohamaru is just kind of been sneaking around in the background, and now we'll finally get to see potentially what's happening there character-wise. We also saw at the very start of the episode, Ku obviously basically reveal himself to be have a lot more free will than Onoki thought. When obviously Onoki brings everyone back to the village, he finds it empty. He realizes that his fabrications have taken over the entire village, and this is not what he wants. And immediately he's challenged by basically Ku on the basis of, you are willing to let us die. We are dying here. We're falling apart. You refuse to let us, go through these operations, heart transplants, to let us fix ourselves, but still want us to like die protecting humans. Like, what's going on? He's without directly saying it, it really is challenging the idea of that Boruto mentioned to him in the previous episode of, do you really not realize that you've effectively made artificial beings? They're not just, robot soldiers, they are actual living beings. And we saw that with Kako previously, we're seeing with Ku, and we saw it with Kokuyou as well in this episode. So I think in that sense, they're actually doing a really good job with these, with our group of kind of somewhat disposable villains this arc, of actually creating an interesting dynamic of them being similar types of beings to Mitsuki, and really challenging them on the fact that they're not like most of the Akuta. The Akuta even have the ability to sort of change and develop and grow, as we see with Akun very emotionally in this episode. So that general theme of how they're approaching doing the whole artificial being arc, I think is really nicely done, especially with the Sekie and Mitsuki relationship, and them being actually close friends, and Sekie actually being a kind of relatable, kind of really nice character at a base level, just with him actually liking Mitsuki a lot. So even though I think the pacing of this arc has been very up and down, I still think there's some really great ideas at play here, and there is a lot going on plot-wise. It's just not paced the best. In that, like, we never cut back to the Leaf Village to see what's happening there. Obviously the Sand Village is at some point going to get involved in this as well. So there's a lot of different things that need to happen here before we get right towards the end of the arc. But just knowing that, like, we had a finish to a fight here with the death of Kokuyou in his fight against the Ino-Shika-Cho trio, and then assisted by Akun later on. So I suppose talking about that fight, I don't think there was anything overly fancy going on in terms of really good choreography of animation. But it allowed for, I think, a really nice, win for this team, that they're basically, the second most notable team in the Leaf Village. They showed off some of their teamwork. They got across how powerful Kako is without having jutsu, but just with how powerful his raw strength is. And, the usual thing of like an Ino-Shika-Cho fight, of them trying to set up their kind of triple team move as like a finisher. And they get it eventually, but it doesn't finish him, but it's kind of, it does enough damage to him to basically put him into the similar type of mode that Kako went into, where he kind of realized he was dying and just went kind of all out, which led to the really cool trick moment of Shikadai basically telling them to go and acting like he's going to sacrifice himself and stay behind, but in fact they just went further down the cave to set up the trap of guarding one of the lights so it would avoid being broken, so that they'd have a surprise activation of Shikadai's Shadow Possession Jutsu. I thought that was a really cool little trick that we saw a lot of those type of tricks in like very early Naruto, and it's nice to see them kind of come back here because our characters aren't like so powerful that they're just winning every fight with like one giant mega move. So like using the Super Beast scroll to kind of block the lights, and then get the shadow possession, and then Chocho kind of come in for the attack. But I like that they also set up that Akun was coming, and he was what kind of ended up like finishing the fight in a way of just distracting Kokuyou to save Inojin, and then that giving Chocho the ability to finish him off with the rolling boulder jutsu. And yeah, I like the aftermath as well, because it got across Kokuyou's kind of character a bit, of just him realizing that they were obviously playing with the two like definitions of heart, and the fact that the fabrications very much view it as just the organ that will allow them to live, whereas Shikadai is more or less teaches him over the course of this fight what it means to like have heart, and basically the kind of willpower, trust in friends, that sort of thing, the more emotional definition of heart. And the fact that we saw the Inojin use the mind transfer jutsu, I thought was really cool, because we had like a fillery type episode where he kind of like used it a little bit, but then we haven't seen him use it since. So it's nice to see that he is actually developing that in the background as well, that he's not just a cyclone, he does actually have some of his mother's techniques as well. So that's really cool to see that he did get a chance to use that, and it gave Inojin like a nice little arc here of just the stuff with Akun, and it led to like the emotional death of Akun in here, because it was actually tragic to just see him, because he was this kind of like childlike kind of presence in the arc so far, and you see that Inojin did develop a connection to him, and so it was this somewhat tragic death, because they've been hitting home the anime the importance of treating all of the fabrications like actual living beings, and not just like robots that are disposable and then being defeated or killed doesn't mean anything. This was a person basically here in Akun dying, and it had that effect. So I like that. I like that Shikadai got a chance to, I suppose, really be the leader of the team. Feel a lot like Shikamaru, but slightly different in the way some of his kind of moves ended up working. And just, without being, I think, blowaway, it was a nice fight that used a lot of the cool kind of trickery, and then the emotional stuff at the end of the kind of talking to the villain afterwards, I thought was kind of nice to see, of just, I suppose, giving that hope in the end of like, okay, the artificial enemies have to be defeated, but give them that hope of like, just like telling them before they died that like you were human, you had like free will, you maybe didn't realize it as much as you did, but you do have that. Other than that, we see, I think it's Kirara fighting Sarada and Boruto, and we just see the very, very start of this. Like, I think she immediately puts them under genjutsu, and then we see by the end of the episode she has them completely under her control. So obviously we'll probably get an explanation about what her technique is necessarily next time out, and how she managed to, I suppose, get Sarada, even though Sarada was using the Sharingan. So, that looks cool. The preview makes it seem like it's going to be this real thing where she kind of has them fight against each other. I'm primarily an Avatar channel, so like it seems very Hama Puppet Master type thing here with the blood bending, trying to force them to kill each other. So that could lead to something interesting. Just with having, forcing, in a way, Sarada and Boruto to try and kill each other, that could lead to some interesting stuff. I'm assuming we'll probably see Kirara's defeat in the next episode, but we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, I think they've left a lot of things in a really interesting position. We still haven't come back to Kuratsuchi. Like, she set up the plan with Shikadai a few episodes ago, but we haven't seen what she's been up to since. So there's a lot of stuff still kind of in progress in this arc that still has to kind of happen. Like I said, the Leaf Village will probably come into play a lot more than they already have. I think we know the Sand Genin, I think, have to get involved from some of the opening stuff. As I said, Kuratsuchi has to be up to stuff. The preview for next episode showed Akatsuchi a little bit. Konohamaru is going to have to play a pretty big role here. Mitsuki, I assume they're going to really try and hit something hard with Sekie and potentially how they go about maybe having to kill him off. And then Onoki and Ku as well. Like, Onoki will now probably see the error of his ways. There's probably still a little bit more to go in terms of getting him to the point where he realizes this plan was a complete mistake and to treat, I suppose, the artificial beings correctly. But he's now seen that Ku is the enemy, and I'm wondering who will kill Ku, because we've seen Ku fight, we've already seen Kako use particle style a lot, but Ku being basically Onoki's clone, as close as possible to it, he is going to be the most powerful user of particle style, so I assume he's going to do more techniques other than just the standard basic, dismantling kind of cube thing. Do they have to have Onoki fight? I'd like to see Konohamaru take on that fight. I think that would be a pretty cool thing to have, where you have all the Genin fight the other members of the group. I'd like to see maybe Onoki and Konohamaru or something like that get involved in the fight against Ku, because Konohamaru really needs a big fight. He really needs to show off just how powerful he is, and this seems like the perfect way to do it. But who knows what exact way they'll go about doing it. But yeah, that's been my review for the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on it. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.